Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well on this amazing day. Welcome to the third in our series. And as I say every time I'm on, we are recording this, and we know that a lot of people share this or look at it at a more convenient time for themselves. So I'm happy to have everyone who's here. We're going to do this a little differently today. I am going to sort of do the introductory part, which we do with everyone in our series. And then I am going to hand the baton over to Trustee White to talk about placemaking, community center, etc. We have a presentation style, so we're going to get started.
Okay, Mayor, give me just one moment.
Okie dokie. Well, while we're on, oh, okay. Wonderful. So I also want to welcome, as always, obviously, Trustee White, who I just mentioned, and Trustee Manuel Casada, who's here with us from the Village Board. And we are ready to go. And just a quick wishing everyone a happy Pride Day for those that look at that. Today we did the flag raising a couple of hours ago, but a beautiful day like this. Tomorrow we'll be doing a Juneteenth flag raising in the village. So proud to be part of this wonderful village. And here we go. So, Maddie, first slide. We're going to start with a little history just for anybody viewing this. We do these slides at the beginning of every one. So if you've seen a previous presentation, you can skip right through this. I'll do it quickly, but it just for those that are here with us for the first time, I find it helpful. Downtown was the center of Ossining. Urban renewal in 1970s basically cut our village in half, and also took down a number of buildings that are now basically parking lots in front of the post office, Market Square. So when you look down our village as you go down the hill, half of it is full with buildings, beautifully done. Many have been renovated. The other half has very little on it. And we'd like to equalize a little bit more as our downtown and to better utilize it. And many of our residents have actually asked for that to be done. So we are looking forward to move on some of the projects. Next. DRI round 5. This is a DRI presentation. We're updating the community at large about where we are with the downtown revitalization initiatives. We're round 5 because the state government, this is a state government driven enterprise, has done 4 of them, mostly for larger cities. We were very proud to receive our $10 million grant in 2021, and now we're in the process of finally getting through some of the planning and getting some of the projects off the ground. And this is part of the community engagement for the projects that have been approved and are moving forward. Next. The process is that we gathered general information before the DRI award. We continued through engagement. How did we do that? Community meetings, web surveys. A committee was established that represents a very large part of the community. We hope to, frankly, get everybody represented. We had virtual meeting rooms. We had a lot of this happened during COVID, by the way, but we did have some in-person meetings at the community center, Market Square, etc. Based on residents and business owner feedback, a group was selected to really hone in on which of the projects we would like to move forward. It started pretty large. It went down to $13.1 million worth of projects after many discussions and a lot of input. And then it was taken down to 10 million, which was the goal, is to bring it to $10 million, which is what the state wanted. And these, you could see the list of the projects, et cetera, et cetera. Next. These are the proposed that came to about $13 million. And it is from this list that we are moving forward to the projects we are now engaging the community in sort of in the next step. Next. The final slate is, there are 6 projects which are village sponsored. Today we'll be discussing the multimodal transportation, enhancing streetscapes, expanding the Market Square Publix Plaza. Let me rephrase. We're discussing the first one and the second. Enhancing, expanding the Market Square public space and transforming the community center. This is the money from the DRI. The village is also adding money to some of the projects. Next. While not a DRI project, while we are looking at DRI, we are taking advantage of the momentum and the moment, and we are looking to develop the Market Square area and the area in front of the post office. They have a small parking lot, actually. The other 2 lots actually are village properties, which, as I said before, were actually developed before urban development. So for some people, we're sort of bringing it back to the way things used to historically in the modern era. And for others, it's just a whole new start. It depends, I guess, on your point of view. There are a couple of non-village sponsored events. While they happen in the village or adjacent to the village, and they could only happen because we received the DRI funding, we want to differentiate which is the actual village-run projects and which are independent of the village. One is the Lewis Engel Waterfront Park Performance Space. That is actually a town park, and the town got a $600,000 sort of adjacent to the DRI project. And the Olive Opera House, I met someone today who said they didn't know where the Opera House is that we keep referring to. It's actually on the 5 corners, and on the left-hand side, you see what the building looks like today. There's a bookstore downstairs, there's a deli on the corner. It's a little bit of a downhill, firehouse next to it, and that is privately owned by folks, and they're receiving approximately $1.5 million in funding from the state and believe me, they'll be spending more than that to rehab this entire building in the middle of our village. Very exciting project. Next. So these are called complementary projects. We've got the 5 corner intersection, which for those of you that drive a lot, you know, we've already started that. That is a great aerial shot. And actually, I used to look at this rendering and say, okay, I don't really know what that looks like, but I was there today for the flag raising, and it actually looks a lot like what I'm looking at. We're going to have to figure out how to not make it look so concrete-y and actually use maybe the new committee for placemaking to make it much more green than what I'm looking at. But for those of you that have seen the progress, there's been a lot of progress on this. There's improvements, upgrade to the signaling, pedestrian crossings, et cetera, and it'll definitely improve walkability, but really also will improve safety. Next. The Route 9 road diet, we've spoken a lot about this. We're basically, if you look at the way it's about a mile area on Route 9. It's the purpose here is to go back to creating more parking spaces so people can have more parking for the businesses up there, also easier for the community center, and much safer crossing for pedestrians, because this Route 9 is a state road. So this is a project that's been in the works for about 20 years, but we are thrilled that it's actually beginning to happen. And we got a big boost from Mondaire Jones as he was leaving Congress with about $4 million to help us with this project as well. That was a big boost to making this become a reality. Next. 200 Main Street. This is a building that has been vacant for decades. There's conflict over who thinks they have the right number of decades, but it has been decades. I would say half a century would be probably about right. And it is a beautiful building, but it's been brought up to grade. And we are looking to put this back on the tax rolls for somebody to take this over as a business, as whatever, and put it back on the tax roll. Next. And we have a whole bunch of waterfront enhancements that we are looking at. Again, all of this could be viewed on the website, not the least of which is a affordable mixed housing building and parking, et cetera, near the waterfront. And then we will be doing some streetscaping in front there to really enhance and benefit the waterfront. Next. The project timelines is where we are today. We are the 1st of June, but we started the 8 webinars focusing on the DRI projects. We've been a farmer's market. We're going to be there on Saturdays, engaging with the public. We are open to doing walking tours of where these projects are aligned. We've done the tours with a couple of groups already, so it's a nice, easy tour to do. And really get a visual of where all the projects are. We're going to be doing in-person engagements as needed, and obviously pushing this out on social media, web, etc., and putting this on our website every time we update every presentation. And if there's any frequently asked questions, we'll do an FAQ. And this is what the timeline looks like for this year. Next. I think this basically says the same thing. We're going to be talking about the multimodal hub. That's a 24 projects. We're halfway through 23. So I feel like we already are doing the 5-way intersection. We're already starting on the community center. So things are happening, but I think the beginning of 24, we'll really start seeing shovels in the ground in some of the projects. But some projects are dependent on others. If we don't get the multimodal, we can't do some of the other projects. So there is somewhat of a relationship between one project to the other in timing. Next. Okay, placemaking and parking. Trustee White will take it from here.
Hey, everybody. So we're going to talk a bit about loving where you live, which is, of course, a goal for all of us, and creating a greener, walkable, bikeable community while embracing Ossing's historic character is central to the village's strategy across the DRI and complementary projects throughout the downtown waterfront and beyond. Communities like these harken back to how our neighborhoods were originally settled pre-automobile. They are not only safer and more welcoming, but encourage visitors to slow down and observe their environment or linger to eat, shop, and gather. In April 2023, the Village Board of Trustees established a placemaking committee. Its mission will be to enlist a diverse body of Ossining residents and to ensure that the village can be more responsive to the changing needs of residents, local businesses, and visitors, and make Ossining an even more interesting and fun place to live, work, play, and stay. Even before the placemaking committee gets up and running, and we're currently doing interviews for it, the village has been working to make our neighborhoods more functional, while also more interesting and conducive to productive activity, such as walkability and safety. In addition to the Route 9 road diet and the Five Corners intersection, the village will also be replacing sidewalks along Spring Street through the Community Development Block Grant Program, while also repaving. The senior affordable development at 136-140 Croton Avenue will include a rebuilding of that's the old Sun Valley Nursery site on Croton Avenue, will include a rebuilding of nearby sidewalks along Croton Avenue, and will enable the village to continue the decorative street lighting up Route 133. So we do intend to give that area lots of love. DOT funded work along Westerly Road will improve connectivity to Snowden Park and the Ossining train station. Improvements to existing parking, everybody's favorite topic. In 2021, the village moved to digital permits, and in 2022, introduced a mobile payment application for metered parking, which supports efficient enforcement and parking turnover without major infrastructure investment. The village board is considering a PILOP, payment in lieu of parking program, for downtown developments to encourage projects to either find room on site or help the village invest in consolidated parking infrastructure and maintenance. The village will also be working on enhanced signage at and around parking lots to assist residents and visitors to more effectively park once and ease traffic flow. Streetscaping. In late April 2023, the village introduced 5 pairs of big belly solar-powered trash and recycling bins. The first deployment was installed in high traffic areas throughout downtown and will help control waste overflow while employing a consistent design with side panels for advertising, local programming, and events. If you haven't used one of the big bellies, I highly recommend that you try it. It is definitely a waste mitigating experience. So both the road diet and the Five Corners intersection projects, when complete, will include green space for easier pedestrian crossings. So that's what they're working on now on the Five Corners. Those bump outs mean that you don't have as much street to cross, which makes it safer. And it may offer interesting ways to integrate art and other beautification efforts into unexpected places. DRI project placemaking. DRI projects provide a great opportunity to incorporate distinctive placemaking unique to Ossining. Input from the placemaking committee and engaged community members will ensure that our village is a place like no other. So the point of our placemaking committee is to make sure that our village is designed by the people who live here. Key placemaking opportunities include Market Square Public Plaza. A newly enhanced Market Square Public Plaza can incorporate placemaking that marries form and function, features public art, and/or sets the stage for a wide range of innovative public use. Spring on Main mixed use. The goal of this project is to reestablish and reactivate the south side of Main Street that was destroyed during urban renewal. While the building will reflect the architecture of this historic district, thoughtful design, streetscaping, and creative use of outdoor space will enhance placemaking. Joseph G. Caputo Community Center. As we work to design a more efficient, functional community center, placemaking can create community spaces within and without the center for people of all ages. There are actually lots of outside, not lots, but there are outside areas at the community center that could really be turned into really fun and functional spaces for everybody. Station Plaza. This important connection between Main Street and the waterfront will benefit from placemaking concepts that honor the neighborhood's past while celebrating its future. But where will I park? One of the largest projects the village is planning is for the multimodal transportation hub, which will create a tiered parking structure on the lot at Brandreth Street. 240 parking spaces plus amenities for EV and e-bike charging. In the design stage, consideration will be given to placemaking, ensuring that the exterior of the structure is in character with the historic neighborhood and connectivity to the Croton Aqueduct Trail so visitors can park and ride. I will tell you that in our interviews with placemaking committee candidates, many of them have brought up the Croton Aqueduct Trail as a great opportunity to do some really interesting placemaking. The parking hub will also provide convenient and accessible parking to current and future downtown uses, such as 200 Main Street, the Olive Opera House, the expanded and enhanced Market Square Plaza, the weekly farmers market, and the mixed-use building in the Main Street lots, Main and Spring lots development. So what's next? Well, you can come see us at the Ossining Farmers Market. The Board of Trustees, the staff, and volunteers will be at the farmers market to educate the public regarding the DRI and community revitalization projects and to solicit feedback. There will be walking tours. The Board of Trustees with staff support can conduct walking tours of downtown waterfront district for any residents or stakeholders who are interested. Project-specific in-person sessions. The Board of Trustees, staff, and volunteers will conduct project-specific in-person engagement sessions. Frequently asked questions. We will compile an FAQ document for this engagement series that will be available on the village's website. Our virtual engagement series has been taking place Thursdays at 6 p.m. via Zoom. All sessions are recorded. The next one will be, we already did What's Happening Downtown on May 4th, the community centered on May 11th. We are now doing placemaking and parking. And then Market Square, the heart of downtown, will be June 8th. Spring on Main, the possibilities of a new mixed-use building on June 22nd, and integrating history with the future in the design of that on July 13th. We'll talk about our return on investment for all this on July 20th. And then Let's Connect on July 27th is an opportunity for to hear even more of what our residents think about all of this. So we also have an interactive story map that's extremely cool. Check it out. It is a great way to stay informed about projects happening all over the village. It's updated on a quarterly basis, and it is accessible from anywhere, anytime. I would also, we'll be giving out these great little cards that have QR codes on the back in English and Spanish, and they will take you directly to information about all these projects. Questions? Please raise your virtual hand and we will call on you. And you can also email your questions to plan@villageofossining.org. And if you've missed a session, not to worry. Questions and answers throughout the Transformational Thursday series will be compiled into a Q&A document accessible through the village website.
Oh, thank you, Trustee White. See, the rest of the trustees are also with us. Trustee Fritchie is with us as well. Maddie, will you be doing the Q&A?
I sure will. So far, Mayor, we have only one question. This is from Miriam H. Which session will explain what is happening with the parking lot next to the post office, the one right in the middle of downtown?
Well, that will be, which date are we talking about? Spring on Main, right? That would be where we talk about the redevelopment of the lots there?
Exactly. I think that's
What day is
sessions 5 and 6.
So that would be, this is number 3. We'll have number 4, so 2 away. And there'll be 2
Away
sessions.
from that. That's
Right.
going to be an interesting one, because I know that is something that this village has been trying to do pretty much ever since those buildings were torn down. Part of the plan was that those lots would be redeveloped, and it never happened for a variety of interesting and bizarre
It's
reasons.
supposed to be redeveloped as part of urban development by the state
Right.
of New York. And it's always a reminder that, different government entities sometimes make promises, sometimes they keep them, sometimes they don't. You just have to be very vigilant. It's part of the game, but we're optimistic this time around with the DRI from the state that we will be able to move forward. So not next session, but the one after that.
Okay. We have another question. This one's from Brian Granoff. How does the public provide ideas or engage with the placemaking committee? Amazing work to all and great presentation. I'm even more excited to be here.
Hello, Brian. We're going to let Dana White answer that question.
Hi, Brian. How does the public provide ideas or engage with the placemaking committee? Well, all of our meetings, we hope to have our first meeting this summer. We're currently in the process of interviewing candidates. These meetings will be accessible. Everything will be transparent. Our work will not take place in secret. Hopefully we will have, I would say, some sort of, this is probably more Maddie's area, but some sort of place where you can email directly questions to the placemaking committee. You can always direct them to me. And the idea of the placemaking committee, which is basically to make our spaces more creative, more functional, more fun, and to bring all the community together, because that is what our public spaces are for. So of course the opportunity is, well, we're going to have an 11-member committee. We want to create a larger circle of community members who give us ideas and feedback. It's not just going to be 11 people sitting in a room trying to think about what to do. We really want to make this a community-wide effort. So we will definitely, Brian, keep you posted on how you can directly offer feedback and ideas.
We have another question/comment from Brian Granoff. Hi all, thank you, that's helpful. Are you still interested in the mural in the street idea? I would sponsor on my corner to slow traffic and create a more engaged streetscape.
You know, that's funny. We were just talking about this yesterday. Street murals are a big thing right now. And even Bloomberg Philanthropies is giving out grants to cities to paint murals on their streets. And there are studies that show that murals on streets in high speed, high traffic areas actually slow traffic down. And the idea, I suppose, is that people see, you know, they see the design, they see the pattern and the color, and they slow down to appreciate it. It's an interesting, it alerts them to the fact that, you know, maybe they ought to slow down and drive a little slower and look at it and enjoy it. It's an interesting theory. I think that we can definitely pursue that idea. I think if you're talking about your street corner, if you're talking about, you're over there by Dale, right? So I think that we can start thinking about places where that might work. It's the thing with street murals is that they do get driven on and they do wear out, and you probably have to repaint them a lot. So that's one thing to think about. But I think it's a really fascinating topic, and one that I certainly want to look more into. They do this in Portland, in intersections all over the city of Portland. And it's actually been shown to improve communities, to bring them together, to slow down traffic. These projects are done as community efforts. It helps people feel more invested in where they live.
I'm sorry I had to walk away just for a couple of minutes. But I'm going to say that the biggest problem for the placemaking committee is just how much is out there for them to look at. There will be no shortage because people seem to be super excited to bring good ideas to the table. And I think we're all looking forward to it.
Should be fun.
Good problem to be having.
Mhm.
We don't have any other questions in the chat box. I see that we have a handful of attendees. If there's anyone who has questions and you want to actually speak to the Board of Trustees, if you want to raise your virtual hand, I can allow you to speak. Otherwise, if you want to continue to put things in the chat, we are here listening.
We'll wait a couple more minutes because sometimes people come in a little later. We do a little tap dancing. We let people know that they can also, if they're more comfortable reaching to individual trustees, it's our last name at villageofossining.org. We look forward to the community ideas, questions, comments, etc. Okay, I'm not seeing more questions in my Q&A.
Does anybody have any questions about the multimodal transportation center and where that will be and all that? We said what, 240 spaces, but it's also, it's not just, we can't call it a parking garage, don't call it that. It's a multimodal transportation center. And it's going to be more than parking. And it's going to be something that can actually be adaptable, perhaps as the number of cars decreases in our downtown. You never know. There's actually, people are buying fewer cars than they used to because they're actually harder. They're expensive and they're harder to find right now. But you know, it's going to be the hub for our electric bike. You know, so it's going to be more than, you know, maybe we'll have some sort of green space with it. But the idea is that, and that's going to be nestled behind off of Brandreth in those two lots that are there now. So you're basically going to be taking what are already parking lots, and you're going to be creating a structure for lots of cars. And the idea for that is that, and that's going to be one of the first things, if not the first thing, DRI project we try to complete, because that is the key to unlocking the rest of it. Because when and if we develop on Main and Spring, on the lots where there is now parking, that we have to replace that parking, right? And we have to put it somewhere else. And that spot is pretty much directly across from the Olive Opera House on Brandreth Street, and a very short walk up to Main Street. And it's very convenient. And we really do think, and this is, some people have often said for years, oh, when we put a parking structure somewhere, you know. So this is actually a newfangled type of parking structure. It's a multimodal transportation system. The state of New York prefers that because, everybody, there's kind of a general hope that cars, that the fewer of them on our streets ultimately and eventually. And that's why we want it to be more walkable, more bikeable, and more, really enjoyable. So that's, I think would be the first, once that's done, we have the parking that we need, and then we can remove, and it will be more than the parking that we're going to remove. There's going to be more parking spaces than what we're going to be taking out. Now, if you've ever looked at old pictures of downtown Ossining and you've seen both sides of the street, you've seen what it used to be. Now, we can't replace that, but it is very common knowledge in urban planning and that a lopsided street is not as engaging, is not as successful, that you have a much more engaging downtown and successful downtown and enjoyable downtown if you have stores on both sides. And that's if you go to any main street, and most of them have stores on both sides, and we used to have that too. And so I think we can really do something that restores that sense, that sense of place, a sense of being able to cross the street and go to this store and cross the street and go there, go back and forth, while still having plenty of places for people to put their cars. So I think that's super exciting, and that unlocks Market Square, because those parking spaces in Market Square, even though that is the last project that we're going to be doing, those parking spaces will all become public space. And then on the other side, the post office parking lot, those spaces right next to the post office will remain, because I think that is their little lot. But that bigger section where the Christmas tree is and that parking lot will actually be a vital component of our renewed downtown. So I think it's pretty exciting.
The reason the New York State doesn't want just parking lots built, because you're not really solving a problem. You may be solving yesterday's problem, but there's so many cities in upstate New York, so many towns where they built large infrastructures that can only be used for parking, the ramps, etc., the way the staircases are built. And if the department store it was next to left, which is what happened in Binghamton and in Troy and everywhere else, the parking lot basically collects dust, and you can't do anything with the structure. It's pure concrete. So you want to do something more flexible. Maybe in the upcoming decade, it's mostly parking e-bikes and having stations. But it has to be built in a way that could be used for other things as well. Probably short of residences, but for other things, so that you actually are building things that are permanent, that have more than a 10-year life cycle based on today's economy or based on whatever, because the economic stance and the way people shop changes every decade now. It's not the way it used to be. So we really we're restoring, which is what I said, the way Dana said it, but we're also building for the future, more flexibility. It'll also help the community center, allowing for more parking. It's actually a smarter place for parking than where the parking is right now. So I see Bob Slosh's question about electric tricycle. Bob, I think you actually spoke to him about this the other day. I have not heard about electric tricycles, but Maddie, if we can add that to our list of thinking about electric for Bob is saying it for seniors. I would say it's for not just seniors. It could be for who knows whom, but they're probably more stable and easier to ride, but I've not seen one. But we should add that to our list from the community engagement. And I think Bob's asking whether there'll be bathrooms. We haven't gone to the point of what's actually inside. We've gone to a point of what's on the outside, but we will add in the idea of having bathrooms. The thing that I know is always challenging in these build outs are elevators and ramps. Those are the things that seem to be mind-boggling expensive and permanent. So let us look at bathrooms. Bob, thank you I don't have an answer of yes or no, but we will be adding that to our questions ourselves. Thank you for that. Let's see what else. Oh, Oh, backpack, like storage areas. Okay, and strollers. I see where you're going with this. More like, so that people can spend the day and not have to schlep everything around. Maybe they want to go to the farmer's market, buy their veggies, put them away, and then go and grab coffee and whatever. If it's raining out, they could do that. So we'll add that. Can't give you a yes or a no, but we're taking your idea and adding them in. I see
Great
Maddie's
ideas, Bob. Keep them
is
coming.
taking, very much appreciate it. Okay,
Okay, so just for those who can't see it, the last question was,
Oh.
please think about whether you can have small lockers that can hold a large backpack for a few hours at the multimodal transportation hub, or can hold a fold-up stroller. And then as a follow-up, Mr. Schloss said, there are security issues with temporary lockers. I'm just asking you to consider the options.
right. And there may be some clever options elsewhere. I was in Florida and Delray, they built something like that where it's actually because of the heat, not because of the rain and snow. Their farmers market is actually on the first floor. Their parking is on the second and third. There's a restaurant on the fourth, and a privately manned storage, strollers, beach bags, all of that. Like by the restaurant where there's also restrooms, but there's actually a paid person. I don't know who pays for them. So that's like another way to look at, but they do actually have, because people walk over to the beach and they need to put their stuff down and make sure it's not stolen. So there are definitely things to think about. There could be many options, but thank you for the idea.
Bob says, yes, in some places there are large tubs where there are borrowable umbrellas in case of a sudden thunderstorm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Do any of the trustees have anything to add to what's already been said? Ideas, thoughts, comments? Okay, not seeing anybody. Nope. All righty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Trustee White, thank you also for the presentation. And she has suggested a placemaking out of all of these conversations, which we're in the process of interviewing. So there are all these sort of what I call adjacent projects that also come out of this and conversations. So we're very excited and very optimistic about there's no way but up here as far as I'm concerned. So thank you, everyone. Maddie, could you remind me when the date for the next one is? It's not every week. When is the next one?
They are not every
on the
week, but
spot?
where they're not every week, but the next one is actually next week. So Thursday, June
thank you.
8th.
So next one is next week. Okay, I just want to make sure people know it's not every week. It had to be scheduled around different events, but next week, 6 p.m. We will see you then. Thank you. Have a good night, folks.